So the science is fascinating around the brain. In the last about 10, 15 years, we have been able to do functional MRIs and see how the brain operates under pressure or while doing tasks. Before that, we had no idea what was going on internally. We were guessing. But now we can see what's firing, what's going on, what areas are contributing to that feeling or that behavior or that response. And that is giving us a tremendous amount of data. That data then we're now starting to use in these performance realms. But the biggest thing that's coming out of that brain research is that our brains and our attentional systems within those brains are ultimately designed for survival. They're not designed to be really great out on the ice. They're designed to protect us from threats. Either real or perceived, the brain is not going to make the error. It's going to take anything that could be a potential threat and move it into the threat category. And so what tends to happen is we start to see our athletes or ourselves even get hooked on certain pieces of data or tending to certain pieces of data that the brain perceives as a threat. When the brain perceives it as a threat, it starts to release stress hormones within the body. Cortisol, norepinephrine, adrenaline, all those things activate the autonomic nervous system. Our heart rate, our blood pressure, all that starts to elevate. People start to feel shallower in their breaths, tightness in their chests, maybe heaviness in their legs because their blood's starting to rush to their major organs. And so they have a really physiological response. And when that physiological response hits, it goes back, sends signals back to the brain saying, hey, we're in a yellow alert. You better scan deeper and faster. And so that's the operating system that our brains are working within. And most of us are sort of leaving our brains to be default in high pressure, high performance situations. Like right now, you're using your eyes and ears to focus on me. Not a lot of threats in this room. You're probably able to focus on and hold your attention here. But if something were to crawl across your foot, just boom, just go over your foot, your attention immediately would go down to your foot. What was that? And you do a threat assessment. And if you saw something move, something dark, something slither, you might have a real huge cortisol jump. If you decide, oh, it was my shoelace, then it goes back to being okay again. You can go back to focusing. But this cycle of threats to body reaction back to threat tends to happen over and over again. And if we start to get in what we call the cycle, a lot of athletes get into a spiral that they can't get out of. And we see this with mental health. We see this also in performance spaces. So what we're intending to do here is to start to understand how do we manage our minds if this is what we're up against. And this is not a problem. The coaching takeaway from this situation is if somebody has a reaction to anxiety or to a game that's coming up, one, completely normal. It's not a weakness that they have or a mental weakness. It's biology. Their brains are doing exactly as they're designed to do. And if they're in that space, the number one thing we tend to say in a lot of these spaces is just calm down, just relax. Well, what does that do? It puts the attention back onto the sensation that they're feeling uncomfortable about. And it actually has the opposite reaction of what we're hoping for. The data behind saying relax to somebody who is anxious is unbelievable in terms of how much that pulls people away from the task at hand. What we want to do in those situations is normalize the situation, and we want to bring them into a spot saying, hey, this activation, getting your body up, is actually not a bad thing for performance if we get our attention on the variables that matter most, not onto how we feel.